Studies show that if you listen to English regularly, like a TV show, radio, or even a podcast, it can drastically improve your English language acquisition. This is one of the reasons why I've set up this podcast for my students and anybody else that wants to listen along. So this will be unscripted, unedited, but I'll have a few notes. The aim of this is just to be normal conversation, just normal, everyday English conversation. I plan to have some guests on this podcast, friends, family, even my granddad. So we can get a broad understanding and a broad listening to the different skills, the different types of speech, the different cadence, and some different stories to make it a bit more interesting. So that's part of the plan for students and for people to learn English, to just listen to 30 minutes a day of this podcast. If you've got chores to do, if you've got a long commute in your car or on the train, then just listening to the English voice of me yabbering on for the next 30 minutes or so, that will definitely be a step in the right direction, along with some other important parts of English to learn, such as self-study. Self-study with making yourself a dictionary, make your own dictionary. And there are lots of other parts of learning English. I really recommend you get yourself a tutor, especially for the pronunciation of English words. Also, I recommend getting a tutor of a different price point, a much cheaper tutor for grammar and for writing. There are many tutors, like South African tutors, or other African tutors, or other tutors from other countries that don't have that native accent and that native understanding. That's why it's so good to have a native speaker. Anyway, I'm waffling on. So, my name is Paul. I'm an English teacher. I teach online. I've taught in a few different schools in Spain and in Vietnam and in Cambodia. And my wife and I have spent the last year in Cambodia. Prior to that, we'd spent some time in Spain. We taught English in Spain. We'd also spent time traveling around in our camper van. That may sound exciting and like we have lots of money. But trust me when I tell you we are very frugal and we don't have much money at all. The camper van we built ourselves. Each time we go traveling, we come back, we work and save up money. So it's not as glamorous as it might first sound. It is a labor of love, you might say, labor of love. I don't like working, but nor does anybody. So I work, save up some money, and we go traveling. So I'm from just outside Bristol, a place called Taunton in the county of Somerset. Somerset is very green and rural. It's a beautiful place, really, really nice place. I wouldn't say the temperature is much different than other parts of Britain, but it is very, very green. It's really nice to enjoy clean, fresh air as well compared to the cities. The air does feel fresh. We have some interesting topography as well. We have lots of hills and valleys, which makes it quite interesting if you live in the countryside to go out and explore. You can go climbing up some hills. So often you may find some mountains. But we're also not far from the seaside, not far from the sea. And again, we have different types of aquatics, seasides. So we have estuaries, we have rivers, we have marshlands, we're very lucky here in the southwest. There's lots of different types of countryside and rural and also urban areas. You know, big towns and some small cities. So it's still really good here in Somerset. We're also connected with the M5 motorway. The M5 motorway is very easy to get to, so that makes us connected with the rest of the country. We also have trains down here in Somerset. What have we got? We've got the Great Western Rail, the Southwest Rail Network. That seems quite well connected. And then also we're not that far from a ferry port. So if you want to go across to France, you could go from Plymouth. And then obviously if you just go up into Wales, you can go across to Ireland. So it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's worth the little drive or the little trek to be able to get connected to the rest of the country from down here in Somerset. Somerset is well known for its cider apples and farming, and it's sometimes the butt of jokes because people from Somerset were always said to have a lower education dating back in the 50s and 60s because there was more farmers and farm work. So that's a little bit of fun, and we have interesting and diverse culture such as the Wurzels, their musical band in the southwest. People like to joke and tease about the Wurzels, and also in the southwest it is very different to lots of other parts of the country, not just in regards to the topography, the landscape, but the people are very friendly, very relaxed. And I know we say that about everywhere in the UK, that people are very friendly. I believe that people are friendly because we're so disconnected sometimes from the rest of the country, being all the way down in the southwest. Okay, so more about me. I've been teaching for a little while now, probably 4 or 5 years. Like I said earlier, my wife and I, Sue, got together about 7 years. So maybe 7.5. I better find out, otherwise I'll get in trouble. So 7.5 years. We'd both had previous families and previous relationships and homes, you know, a previous life, so to speak. But we'd never traveled. We have children that are all grown up now. My youngest is 18 currently. My eldest is probably 24. I say probably, she's 24. And again, Sue also has grown-up children. But as I said, we hadn't gone traveling. I'd never had a passport until I met Sue. So we really had itchy feet. We really wanted to get out and travel and see the world that people were telling us about. Oh, you got to travel, it's great, it's this. I'm like, yeah, okay. One day when we get the time. So we did. We did. We worked hard for like 6 months and saved up all our money, everything we could. So we didn't go out. We didn't buy posh food. We didn't buy lots of, I don't know, clothes or videos or technology and gadgets. We really scrimped and saved. So we were able to put all this money into a pot. We decided the cheapest and easiest way to travel for us was to negate the accommodation costs, to stop accommodation costs. So we had the bright idea to get a van, a commercial van. And the cheapest commercial van we found with MOT on it, so it was okay, it was safe, was in London. So we took our I think we had a car at the time. We took the car up to London. We investigated the van and we brought it back down. We bought it. It was dented, it was battered, it was bruised, but it was ours, and it was big enough. We thought it was big enough for us to handle, and possibly sleep in. Maybe a few rainy days in it. So we bought this van. It was an old post office van. That's why we called ourselves Second Class Hobos on our Instagram, because it was a second class. It was a post office van. We watched watched lots and lots and lots of videos on YouTube, and I asked some people, and I read a few books about making a camper van. Now, I've got zero skills as a tradesman in anything. I've never been an electrician or a carpenter or a builder or anything. I don't even have the tools. But I knew from all these videos that it was possible. So we started. We stripped it all out, cleaned it all up, and then we put in some insulation all over the place, loads and loads of insulation. It didn't actually make it that warm, but it did stop the condensation, because we were aware of breathing and sleeping in a van. You'll get condensation in the night and wake up with drips on your face. So we put lots of condensation. We put lots of, what did I say it was called? Insulation. That's it, insulation. We put lots of insulation in the van, and then we covered the insulation with hessian, sacks of hessian. And then I built a bed frame into parts of the struts of the inside of the van. So that was good. It wasn't the only time that we built the van. We changed it, a few months later. But we put in the bed, we put in a kitchen. Eventually I put in a shower. We put in a diesel heater to keep us warm. We put in a sink and water. So it was practical. It was practical and usable. That was the main thing. And then we got on the ferry and we went across to France. We spent a few weeks in France, driving around, enjoying some of the sights. And then we went to Belgium, and then on to, where did we go after that? Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Netherlands. That's what I'm looking for. The Netherlands. We went around the Netherlands, had a great time. It was really, really amazing, the Netherlands. And then we went into Germany. Again, Germany was amazing. We all went into Spain. We also went into Portugal. We popped over briefly to Morocco, to Africa, and then come back up through the top of Spain, and then back into France, and then back into the UK. So that took us almost 6 months, and we had a brilliant time. All right, not everything was perfect. We had a few ups and downs. The battery went flat. Sometimes we fell out because we were living in this very small space. But it was a really, really amazing time, learning different things about us, about the van, about the community of people in vans, and how people help each other out. And we learned about Stellplatz and Airs, which are parking spaces. You can get magazines and books about where you can park. Because in Europe, unlike the UK, it's fine to park for a few days in a designated spot. So one place in Belgium, we stayed a whole week. It was amazing. There was free Wi-Fi, there was a restaurant at the top of this tower, and it was at a reservoir. It was a really picturesque reservoir where people came and walked their dogs. But yeah, we stayed there a whole week. So we went to lots and lots of different places. I think it was around 40 different towns or cities. And I think we covered 10 different countries. So yeah, we got out and about and did lots of things. It was brilliant. So we did that. And then we came back and we worked hard again, saved up some money. And we wanted something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more adventurous, maybe something a little bit more humbling. So we went to Vietnam. And we stayed in Vietnam for a little while, and that was really, really good. We also did what Sue wanted to do. We went all the way down the back spine of Vietnam on a slow train. That was amazing. That was one of the best experiences of my life. It was really, really good. It was only a few days, and we had the cabin that we shared with some other people, but that was fantastic. It didn't cost a lot of money either. I think it was like $20 or $30 for this train ride, and we slept on there for a couple of nights. It was incredible. We got some stories about that as well, but that's for another day. So after Vietnam, we went over to Cambodia. We got jobs in Cambodia really quickly, and we just taught English. I was very nervous. I'd not worked full time in a school. I'd only done support work in schools and helping students on a one-to-one basis with supporting. Whereas Sue was very, very comfortable teaching in a school, and you know, that was her job for 14 years as a teaching assistant. So she's super much well, she's a grammar queen. She's always telling me off about my spelling or my punctuation or my grammar. Sue is top notch. Proofreading, anything like that, she is amazing. So we were teaching in Cambodia. We stayed there for quite a while, just under a year. Then we came back to the UK. Again, we wanted to go traveling, so we saved up, and then we went back to Spain. Each time we sell something, you know. So the first time we sold the camper van, and then we saved up and went to Cambodia. And then we came back from Cambodia and we worked hard again. I'm not sure. I think we just worked hard this time, and then went to Spain and got jobs in Spain. Only 9 months this time. We worked again in what would you say? Some sort of like academy, after school club academy. But it was during the day and after school and in the morning. So it was like a teaching academy only in English. So we enjoyed that. That was really great. And then we came back to England again. I think we worked hard, stayed with family, worked hard. You know, we literally slept on the floor and on sofas for the first few weeks when we come back because we'd run out of money. Again, that's another story. So we came back to the UK again. I think we bought a van and we converted it into a camper van and lived in that for, I think this time, a year. We lived in the van for a year and then eventually sold it and we went back to Cambodia. No, beg your pardon, I got that wrong. Then Brexit happened. We had Brexit here, separating from Europe, and then the pandemic. And then we went back to Cambodia. And we've literally just finished a year about 3 weeks ago and come back to the UK now. So now we're in the UK. It's been 3 weeks and we're doing this podcast. So this here is for anybody wanting to listen, learn, understand English. And we're going to have a lot more normal, regular conversation. Right, this is also the plan for the channel is to be a community. So I want to hear your stories. I want to hear you tell me about some of the miscommunication with English, some of the funny stories you had where you said this or you said that, and the other person has completely got the wrong end of the stick. They've completely misunderstood what you've said. So it becomes more alive and more interesting as a channel and a community if you get involved. So please do send me your stories in an email or on Instagram about miscommunication and the things that's gone wrong with you speaking English or learning English or even another language. Okay. Also for the channel, like I said, I do shorts, little YouTube shorts, just for a bit of fun, just for something different. Maybe get some people involved and engaged with different parts of the English language and different parts of, different parts of English language, you know, the UK. So there's lots of things to think about. All right, okay. Right, I had some notes. Ugh. And now I've just dropped them on the floor. The sticker has fallen off. Okay. All right. Also, I'm going to do a web page. So you can go to the website and you can look for resources. There'll be other things there. Like, for example, the 12 tenses or oxymorons or idioms. Things like this. Anything to do with English. We're going to do some YouTube shorts or we'll put something on the website. So the website is a live, living website where you guys can put things on there or you can give me things and I'll put it on there and make it interesting and a bit of fun. You know, there's nothing worse than being bored out your skull. So having fun is one of the biggest priorities. And with that is singing. I'm always telling my students to sing. Sing whilst walking around your house. You know, sing when you're in the garden. Sing when you're in the car. If you sing English sounding songs or English speaking songs, really again helps improve your language and your accent and the fluency and the flow. It's really good, easy thing to do. Okay. Just a couple of Q&A. Some of my students asked me some of these things, so I'll share them here with you. So they asked me my height. I don't know why, but 5'9". I like to say 5'10", but my wife says 5'9". I'm 49 at the end of the year. 49, almost 50, the big 50. English British accent. Car. I don't have a car at the moment. Well, I have a van. It's in for MOT at the moment, a van. So an interesting thing about Sue and I is we don't like paying for accommodation. So right now we're in house sitters. So house sitter is when somebody goes away on holiday and we stay and look after their pet in their house. So we'll water their plants, we'll feed the cats, and if we're in a house with dogs, obviously we'd walk the dogs whilst they're away on holiday for 1 week, 2 weeks. Some of the sits we've got are for a month and more. So we fill up our calendar with lots of different places to stay for free. Obviously we pay for our own food, but we're not paying any rent or council tax or water rates or bills. But occasionally there's a few days where we can't stay at somebody's house, in which case I can go back to my sister's, or we can stay in the van overnight. So it's just a small commercial van, and we've insulated it like a little camper van basically, just for a couple of nights. So it's like we're playing camping for a couple of nights in between. And then we both work online teaching English. So at the moment, I'm in a beautiful house in the countryside. There is a fly, I apologize. Being in the countryside, sometimes you get flies in the summer. So yes, there's flies in here at the moment. So I'm in a beautiful house in the countryside at the moment, and it's lovely, so quiet and peaceful, and it's a big house. It's wonderful, wonderful. Right, okay, more, back to this. So I told you where I live. Tattoos. Yes, I've got my daughter's names on my chest, and I've got Cambodia tattooed on one wrist, and something on the other wrist. That's for another lesson. Listen to me. Another video. Okay. But I don't have big silly tattoos all over my body. That's all I have. My children's names, and Cambodia on one wrist and something else on the other wrist. All right. Favorite books. Oh, Carol Vorderman, or Teach Your Kids Grammar. Teach Your Kids English. It's a pictorial book for helping you understand grammar. I'm not the best at grammar. I'm learning so much whilst teaching my students. They teach me, they really do. They tell me so much as I'm learning along the journey. Because you can't memorize everything about English. I think I know a lot and I've improved a lot, but you still can't memorize everything. You know, English people make a lot of mistakes. They just laugh it off. They don't care because we're native English speakers. It doesn't matter. So making mistakes is all part of being human and having fun and laughing at ourselves. So that's why we like to laugh at how crazy the English language is sometimes. The language is bizarre. Anyway, it's live, it's active, and it's interesting. Okay, back to the Q&A. DK, Dorian Kingsley, DK, also do other pictorial books for learning English. I have one as a teacher. I have levels 1 to 4 for teaching, learning English as a study guide and an exercise books, and 2 levels of business. I got books on idioms. So DK, Dorian Kingsley. I get my books mostly on the Play Store, Google Play Store. All right, favorite school. Ooh, I really like the school in Spain, but also I like the school in Cambodia. Difficult one. Travel. Where do I like to travel? Again, I really like Europe, but especially Spain. And then also travel for the future. Mexico. Mexico is on my bucket list. Mexico, Albania, and Turkey. I have some students in Turkey, and I really like to visit them one day. Languages. I speak a little bit, just a little bit of Cambodian and a little bit of Spanish. Okay. No, I do not smoke cigarettes. I did when I was younger, like many people. Instruments. I do not play any instruments, although I really like the guitar. I've had a couple of guitars, but I'm terrible. My English ear is very, very bad for music. Hobbies. Photography. Photography really is my only other hobby. I really like different types of photography, but my favorite is street photography. I have put up some of my photos on display. They didn't get a lot of adulation. They didn't get a lot of reward. Either I'm rubbish or it was just the wrong audience and the wrong place. So take that or what you will. If you do like photographs and you want to look at some photographs of mine, I have, what's it called? buymeacoffee.com. It's where you can just buy me a coffee. There's also lots and lots of photos that I've taken, mostly of Asia and some of other countries, on that site. I'm going to try and link it to the website or maybe Instagram, I'm not sure. So yeah, there's lots and lots of photos on there to look at. And you be the judge. You tell me, am I terrible? Do I need to improve? Anyway, you let me know. So street photography is my favorite. I've got a Nikon camera and I've got a really long lens, all secondhand, all very, very cheap secondhand. And this long lens really helps me take some photos from a distance without spoiling the moment. So people can laugh and smile and joke. And I'm not in their face with a camera, you know, I'm staying at a distance. I suppose that's very much like wildlife photography. You don't want to spoil the moment. So yeah, that's my favorite at the moment. But I just want to finish off with a story of humility and being humble. Sue and I recently, as I said, come back from Cambodia, but in the last couple of days before we came back, we saw a motorcycle, like a scooter, with a canopy over the top and quite boxy, square. And it stopped and hey Sue, I want to speak to this person. I've seen this vehicle before. So as we came up to it, we realized the person was lying down on a bed inside this like motorcycle scooter thing with perspex around. And the gentleman had stopped and he lowered himself down. And we had a conversation. I'll upload it soon. We had this conversation with this guy that spoke a little bit of English. He was paralyzed from the waist down and he couldn't sit up. But he did have a mobile phone and he was happy to talk to us for a few moments. And he said the sponsor, the donor, the person that paid the money was from, I think he said from Switzerland. And they built this hydronic elevator that lowers his bed. It's like a wheelchair, but it's almost like a bed as well. And it lowered it down. And then he rolled out and he said, well, I've got to go now. I've got to go to work. And then he sort of, him and his girlfriend went across the road and into well, I didn't see where he went. He went into a shop, I think, or a building. And I thought, wow, this guy is paralyzed from the waist down. He's still riding a motorbike and he's going to work. Wow. Well, you know, I just felt humbled and thought that's true inspiration of, you know, you can still do it. And that was mostly because he spoke English. He was able to get connected on Facebook and get connected to other people that were willing to help and wanted to put their money into a good cause. So this guy is working, he's got a girlfriend, he's got his motorcycle. I'm like, wow, you know, some people just got that motivation to keep going and do stuff. You know, and I think, well, if he can do it, we can do it. So we should all be doing something to improve our lives and just be kind to other people. Okay, on that note, I'd better finish it here before we run out of battery and storage. So I hope to see you in the next one. English Podcast with Paul. English Podcast with Paul. Also, I've got the website and I've got secondclasshobos.com if you want to know more about Sue and I and our lifestyle. Secondclasshobos.com and on Instagram, secondclasshobos. Speak to you soon. Be good, be safe, and keep listening and practicing English. See you in the next one. Bye for now.